Hello everyone, in this video I would like to discuss easily the most important and pressing issue that we currently face as a race, as the human race, that is the most threatening thing to our planet in this very moment. And that is the fact that we are currently, as I speak, on the brink of nuclear war. And it's very interesting for me to say that because, at least speaking from the perspective of an American and seeing the development come in as I see it and the reactions of people, at the very least in this country, it seems like there is indeed a divide between our current reality and how people see it or perceive it, at the very least what they're given as it pertains to the mass media and the rank propaganda that they feed us on such a consistent basis, which of course aids in this inability to see reality for what it is. And many would point to what they believe to be the trigger for this, not us being on the brink of nuclear war, but closer than ever to the precipice. They would point to the current ongoing war in Ukraine, of course, fought between Ukraine and Russia, of course, Ukraine being backed by NATO, America, and their allies. But in getting in this conversation, I'd like to bring up something that I made a video about probably towards the beginning of 2022 when the Russian special military operation first took place. And that is about the Doomsday clock. This clock, which was created, I believe, in 1945 by the Bulletin of Atomic Sciences, which is basically kind of sort of an illustration basically showing us how close we are to nuclear war or catastrophe or disaster. Any of those different words would do well or suffice to describe what would happen if that were to indeed take place. And recently, as of a couple days ago, I believe it was on this past Thursday or last Thursday, this is a Sunday that I'm recording this video, they moved the minute hand closer than it has ever been in history to midnight. So, of course, I believe it was when Donald Trump was elected president, they abandoned minutes and they went to seconds. And so for quite some time, we've been at 100 seconds to midnight. But recently, they have moved that from 100 seconds to midnight to 90 seconds to midnight. So we're the closest to midnight than we've ever been. And this is extremely important. And so they say a time of unprecedented danger, it is 90 seconds to midnight. And I'm not going to read you their entire statement. To be completely honest with you, I guess you would say I don't necessarily agree with their statement, or at the very least the framing of it. A lot of blame was done in this statement, which was pretty much a given. But I don't think it gave an accurate depiction of what's currently going on. But I'll read you a little bit of what they had to say. They say this year, the Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Sciences moves the hands of the Doomsday Clock forward largely, though not exclusively, because of the mounting dangers of the war in Ukraine. The clock now stands at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest to global catastrophe it has ever been. And that shouldn't be taken lightly. We really are at a point of almost no return. But we can all be saved if only cooler heads will prevail, which we should all hope that it does. But that's the issue that I would like to touch on in this video. There are many of us out there that are somehow convinced that a nuclear war between the US and Russia, and of course, as a result, China, wouldn't end in catastrophe or the end of humanity. There are people that come out with these remarks that I've encountered, of course, uploading videos about this because this is extremely important and it should be discussed. People say that nuclear war, it wouldn't destroy the world or it wouldn't mean the end of society as we know it and all this other nonsense they say. Well, before I really divulge into this, let's just have a little fun with numbers, shall we? So there's 7.8 billion people currently in this that exist on this planet, give or take. Okay, 7.8 billion, that's quite a lot. That's a really big number. Let's say that if we, you know, encountered nuclear war and bombs were flying through the sky, let's say that that would only kill about 40%. I say only 40% of the current existing population. Who in the world would be able to sleep at night knowing that that's something that we as the human race has allowed to occur? Now, if something takes place that is able to destroy 40% of the human population that currently inhabits the earth, well, then, needless to say, it would have also done irreparable damage to the earth, to the animals that exist alongside the humans on the earth, and caused all sorts of problems for the future to come. I'll give you another example. There's 7.8 billion people. Let's say nuclear war has a guaranteed chance of only, once again, this only word, it's in quotations, I should say, only kills 1% of that 7.8 billion. So, due to whatever ideology, whatever beliefs, whatever it is that has caused such a thing to happen, 1% of that 7.8 billion are now gone. That's 78 million people. So, for the people that think that nuclear war isn't that big of a deal and we should continue to rush ahead with these erroneous policies that has, that has brought us to this point, you'd be fine with 78 million people saying goodbye because of Russia's bad, or because of Ukraine has the right to join NATO, or whatever kind of nonsense people would like to shroud or cloud their mental with to kind of satisfy them and give them a reason to embark on such a horrific thing, such as nuclear war. I want to read to you something. This is from the World Socialist website. In 2017, they did an interview with the Los Alamos Study Group Secretary and Executive Director Greg Mello. And this is an expert. This is what he has to say about nuclear war. To a first approximation in a nuclear war between the US and Russia, everybody in the world would die. Some people in the Southern Hemisphere might survive, but probably not even them. The imagination cannot encompass nuclear war. Nuclear war means nuclear winter. It means the collapse of every fragile electronic, financial, governmental, administrative systems that keep everyone alive. We'd be lucky to reboot in the early 19th century, and if enough weapons are detonated, the collapse of Earth's ozone layer would mean that every form of life that has eyes would be blinded. The combined effects of a US-Russian nuclear war would mean that pretty much every terrestrial mammal and many plants would become extinct. There would be a dramatic biological thinning. And listen, I should say this before I wrap things up here, which is what I intend to do. This isn't to freak anyone out or, get you to clutch your pearls or become all doom and gloom about our current situation. This is just simply to say that we're in a moment of unprecedented crises, the likes of which many of us in our lifetime has never seen. Of course, we've seen crises like this before. The Cuban Missile Crisis is one, and there are many other different examples as well that we've somehow gotten through by the skin of our teeth. But, this moment here really seems like, things really could take a turn for the worst at any given moment. Our leaders are continuously pursuing policies that are erroneous and that don't aid to putting this to a stop by any means. And this is all to, at the end of the day, hold up what they see as what needs to be protected, the unipolar hegemony of a state that is currently losing its grip on the power that it once had, or the position that it once had. And the world is changing, and there are some of us, those of us that have, it's not me and you, of course, but those people that are in these really big positions that have the power and authority to make these really important decisions They don't like what they see, and they like to hold on to the former glory of what once was. And they are very willing to take me and you and every form of life down with it if they can. And so it's incredibly important that we're on the right side of things, because you don't see this being talked about. And it's very harrowing that we don't really see this being talked about, because they're flirting with these ideas. You see Russian leaders threatening to use nuclear weapons. The options aren't off the table. U.S. leaders ensuring us that no, that definitely won't happen, as if they know the future. It's so very confusing, and things are in a state of disarray at the moment. But at the very least, it doesn't matter where you fall on the ideological spectrum, or what you think about Russia or Ukraine or anything else. I think we can all agree that nuclear war is the last thing that we would like to see happen, and we should all hope that it doesn't.